Black man denied hotel room. He was the guest of honor. Marcus Thompson adjusted his tie in the reflection of the taxi window as the Atlanta skyline came into view. The city buzzed with life, its lights twinkling like stars against the dusk. At 38, Marcus was no stranger to big moments, but tonight felt different. He was the keynote speaker and guest of honor at the Tech Innovator Summit, a prestigious conference celebrating breakthroughs in artificial intelligence. His speech, months in the making, was meant to inspire the next generation of engineers. As a black man who'd risen from a modest upbringing in rural Georgia to a celebrated tech innovator, Marcus carried the weight of his journey with pride. The taxi pulled up to the Grand Meridian Hotel, a towering glass structure that screamed luxury. Marcus stepped out, his polished shoes clicking on the pavement. He wore a tailored navy suit, his briefcase in one hand, a small duffel bag slung over his shoulder. The doorman, a young man with a bright smile, nodded warmly. "Welcome, sir," he said, holding the door open. Marcus returned the gesture, his own smile easy and genuine. He'd always believed in the power of kindness, a lesson his mother had drilled into him as a boy. Inside, the lobby was a vision of opulence. Marble floors, crystal chandeliers, and a massive digital screen flashing details about the summit. Marcus approached the check-in desk, where a young woman with a tight bun and a name tag reading Claire stood typing. She glanced up as he approached, her expression neutral. "Good evening," Marcus said, setting his briefcase down. "I'm checking in under Marcus Thompson. I'm here for the Tech Innovator Summit." Claire's eyes flicked over him, lingering on his duffel bag. Her lips pursed just slightly, almost imperceptibly, but Marcus caught it. He'd seen that look before. A subtle judgment, a question in the eyes that didn't need to be spoken. He brushed it off, maintaining his warm demeanor. "Let me check," Claire said, her tone clipped. She typed for a moment, then frowned. "I'm sorry, I don't see a reservation under that name. Are you sure you're at the right hotel?" Marcus's brow furrowed, but he kept his voice steady. "I'm certain. The summit organizers booked my room. I'm the keynote speaker. Could you check again, please?" Claire's frown deepened. She typed again, slower this time, as if to make a point. A few guests nearby glanced over, sensing the shift in tension. "Sir, there's no Marcus Thompson in our system. Did you book directly or—" Her voice trailed off, but the implication hung in the air. Marcus felt a familiar pang in his chest, the kind that came from years of navigating spaces where he wasn't always welcome. "It was booked by the summit team," he said, pulling out his phone. "I have the confirmation email right here." Before he could open the email, Claire raised a hand. "Sir, I'm sorry, but without a reservation, I can't check you in. Maybe you can call whoever booked it and sort this out." Her tone was final, dismissive. Marcus took a deep breath, his patience thinning. "Ma'am, I'm not just a guest. I'm the guest of honor for the event happening in your hotel. There's a mistake, and I'd appreciate it if you could help me resolve it." Claire's eyes narrowed and she leaned forward slightly. "Sir, please don't raise your voice. I'm doing my job. If you don't have a reservation, I can't help you." "Raise my voice?" Marcus repeated, stunned. He hadn't raised his voice at all. The lobby seemed to quiet, more eyes turning toward them. A man in a suit nearby pulled out his phone, subtly recording. Marcus's heart sank. This was escalating, and he knew how it could look. "I'm not raising my voice," he said, his tone measured but firm. "I'm asking for help. My name is on that screen behind you. Look." He pointed to the digital display where his photo and name flashed alongside the words, "Keynote Speaker Marcus Thompson." Claire glanced at the screen, then back at him, her expression unchanged. "Sir, I need to ask you to step aside so I can assist other guests. If you'd like, I can call security to help you sort this out." The word security hit Marcus like a punch. He stood there, a man in a tailored suit with a PhD and a career that had taken him around the world, being threatened with security in a hotel where he was the guest of honor. His hands clenched briefly, but he forced them to relax. He wouldn't give her the reaction she seemed to expect. "This is unbelievable," he said, his voice low, carrying the weight of his disbelief and hurt. "You're making a mistake." Before Claire could respond, a woman's voice cut through the tension. "Excuse me, what's going on here?" A middle-aged woman in a conference badge approached, her expression a mix of concern and outrage. Her name tag read, "Dr. Linda Hayes, Summit Organizer." Marcus turned to her, relief flickering in his chest. Dr. Hayes, I'm Marcus Thompson. I'm trying to check in, but there seems to be an issue with my reservation. Linda's eyes widened. Marcus Thompson? Oh my God, you're our keynote speaker. She turned to Claire, her voice sharp. Why is our guest of honor standing here being treated like this? Claire's face paled, but she doubled down. I, I didn't see his reservation, ma'am. I was just following protocol. Protocol? Linda snapped. You didn't even check properly. His name is on every poster for this event. This is unacceptable. The lobby was now a stage, with dozens of guests and staff watching. The man with the phone was still recording, and Marcus could feel the weight of every stare. He wanted to disappear, to rewind the last 10 minutes and avoid this humiliation, but he also knew he couldn't back down. Not now. Dr. Hayes, Marcus said quietly, I just want to check in and prepare for tomorrow. Can we resolve this? Linda nodded, her anger softening as she looked at him. Absolutely. I'm so sorry, Marcus. Let's get this fixed right now. She marched to the desk, demanding to speak to the manager. Claire, flustered, picked up the phone to call her supervisor. The crowd murmured, some whispering about racism, others about incompetence. Marcus stood there, his dignity intact but his heart heavy. He'd faced prejudice before, but this, being denied a room in a place where he was meant to be celebrated, cut deeper than he'd expected. The manager, a man named Mr. Reynolds, arrived quickly, his face a mask of professional concern. Mr. Thompson, I apologize for the mix-up. There was an error in our system. Your suite is ready, and we'll ensure this doesn't happen again. Marcus nodded, accepting the key card, but the apology felt hollow. Thank you, he said, his voice steady. I'd like to go to my room now. As he walked toward the elevators, the man with the phone approached. Sir, I recorded everything. I'm posting this online. People need to see this. Marcus hesitated, then nodded. Do what you think is right, he said, his voice tired but resolute. He stepped into the elevator, the doors closing on the scene that would soon ignite a firestorm. Marcus leaned against the wall of his hotel suite, the door clicking shut behind him. The room was stunning, floor-to-ceiling windows with a view of Atlanta's glittering skyline, a plush king bed, a sleek desk already set with a welcome basket from the summit organizers. But the luxury felt distant, like it belonged to someone else. He set his briefcase down and sank into an armchair, his mind replaying the scene in the lobby. Claire's dismissive tone, the threat of security, the eyes of strangers judging him, it all churned in his chest, a mix of anger and exhaustion. He pulled out his phone, intending to review his speech notes, but notifications flooded the screen. Emails, texts, and a slew of social media tags. Curious, he opened Twitter. The video from the lobby was already viral, posted by the man who'd recorded it, with the caption, "This is disgusting. Guest of honor at a major conference denied a room because of racism. Nurtures justice for Marcus." The clip had thousands of retweets, and the comments were a storm of outrage, support, and debate. Unbelievable. This is 2025 and we're still dealing with this? That clerk needs to be fired. Marcus Thompson deserves better. Bet they wouldn't have done this to a white guy in a suit. Marcus scrolled, his throat tightening. Some comments questioned the narrative, accusing him of playing the race card or suggesting he'd been rude. Others shared their own stories of discrimination, a painful thread of shared experience. He closed the app, overwhelmed. He hadn't asked for this spotlight, but it was here now, and he knew it wouldn't fade quietly. A knock at the door startled him. He opened it to find Dr. Linda Hayes, her face etched with worry. Marcus, I'm so sorry to bother you, she said, stepping inside. I wanted to check on you. What happened downstairs? It's blowing up online, and the summit team is mortified. We're issuing a statement, but I need to know what you want to do. Marcus sighed, rubbing his temples. Linda, I appreciate that, but I don't know yet. I came here to give a speech, not to be a headline. I just want to do my job. I get that, she said, her voice soft, but this isn't just about you anymore. People are angry, and they're looking to you. Whatever you decide, we've got your back. He nodded, grateful for her support, but uneasy about the weight of it all. Let me sleep on it, he said. I'll figure out how to handle this before tomorrow. After Linda left, Marcus tried to focus on his speech, but his thoughts kept drifting. He thought of his mother who'd worked 2 jobs to put him through college, always telling him to hold his head high no matter what. He thought of the kids he mentored back home, young black engineers who looked up to him. What would they think if he stayed silent? What would they learn if he spoke? By morning, the story had spread beyond Twitter. News outlets picked it up with headlines like "Tech Star Denied Hotel Room in Shocking Incident" and "Racism Row Erupts at Atlanta Conference." The hotel issued a public apology, claiming it was a system error and that Claire had been reassigned pending review. Marcus read the statement on his phone over breakfast, unimpressed. A system error didn't explain the way Claire had looked at him, the assumptions she'd made before he'd even spoken. As he headed to the conference venue, a sleek convention center attached to the hotel, strangers stopped him in the halls. Some offered words of support, others asked for selfies, calling him an inspiration. A young black woman, a college student attending the summit, approached him with tears in her eyes. "I saw the video," she said. "Thank you for not backing down. It means a lot to people like me." Her words hit Marcus hard, stirring something deeper than anger. He realized this wasn't just his fight, it was theirs too. He thanked her, promising to keep pushing forward, though he wasn't sure yet what that meant. The summit's opening ceremony was packed, with over 1,000 attendees filling the grand auditorium. Marcus sat backstage, his heart pounding as the MC introduced him. The video had changed the context of his appearance. He wasn't just a speaker now, he was a symbol. He adjusted his tie, whispering a quiet prayer for strength, then stepped onto the stage. The applause was thunderous, a standing ovation before he'd said a word. Marcus scanned the crowd, seeing faces of every color, some holding signs with his name, others filming with their phones. He felt exposed but also empowered. This was his moment, not Claire's, not the hotel's. "Thank you," he began, his voice steady despite the nerves. "I'm honored to be here, though I'll admit, getting to this stage wasn't as smooth as I'd hoped." A ripple of laughter mixed with murmurs ran through the crowd. He paused, choosing his words carefully. "Last night, I was reminded that no matter how far you climb, some people will still see you as less than you are. But I'm also reminded today, by all of you, that we're stronger than those moments." He went on to deliver his speech, weaving in his journey as a black engineer, the barriers he'd faced, and the innovations he'd built despite them. But he didn't dwell on the hotel incident. Instead, he spoke of resilience, of community, of the power of lifting each other up. "We're here to innovate," he said, "but true innovation starts with seeing the humanity in everyone, no matter who they are." The crowd was on its feet again when he finished, their cheers echoing in his ears as he left the stage. Backstage, Linda hugged him, tears in her eyes. "That was incredible, Marcus. You turned it around." But it wasn't over. As the day went on, the online conversation grew louder. A hashtag, #ShirkStandWithMarcus, trended worldwide with thousands sharing stories of discrimination and calling for change. Activists organized a protest outside the hotel, demanding accountability. Corporate sponsors of the summit pledged donations to diversity programs in Marcus's name. Even Claire's name trended, with some doxing her, though Marcus publicly asked for that to stop. "She made a mistake," he tweeted. "Let's focus on fixing the system, not destroying a person." That evening, Marcus agreed to an interview with a major news network, live streamed from the hotel's conference room. The anchor, a woman named Sarah Chen, asked pointed questions about the incident, the hotel's response, and what it meant for him personally. "It hurt," Marcus admitted, his voice raw. "Not just because of what happened, but because it's a reminder of how far we still have to go. But I'm hopeful because I've seen so much support today. People want better, and that's where change starts." Sarah leaned forward. "What's next for you, Marcus? How do you move forward?" He paused, thinking of the student who'd thanked him, the signs in the crowd, the stories online. "I keep doing what I've always done," he said. "I build, I teach, I show up, and I hope others will too." The interview went viral, shared millions of times. Marcus's words became a rallying cry, not just for those who'd faced racism, but for anyone who'd ever been underestimated. He didn't ask for it, but he'd become a voice. The next morning, Marcus woke to a flood of messages, not just from strangers online, but from people he hadn't spoken to in years. Old classmates, former colleagues, even his high school science teacher, all reaching out to say they'd seen the news and were proud of him. One email stood out, though, from an unexpected source. Mr. Reynolds, the hotel manager. He requested a private meeting, promising it would be worth Marcus's time. Curious but cautious, Marcus agreed to meet later that day, after the summit's final sessions. The conference buzzed with energy, but Marcus felt a shift in how people approached him. It wasn't just admiration for his work anymore. It was respect for his resilience. During a panel discussion on diversity in tech, a young engineer named Jamal asked Marcus how he stayed motivated in the face of prejudice. The question hung in the air, heavy with expectation. Marcus leaned into the microphone, his voice steady. I think of the people who came before me, my parents, my mentors, folks who faced worse and still built something beautiful. They didn't let hate stop them, and neither will I. But it's not just about pushing through. It's about making room for others so they don't have to fight as hard. The room erupted in applause, and Jamal nodded, a quiet smile on his face. Marcus felt a spark of hope. Maybe this was why it had happened, not to break him, but to amplify a message that needed to be heard. As the summit wrapped up, Marcus headed to the hotel's executive lounge for his meeting with Mr. Reynolds. The manager greeted him warmly, but there was a nervousness in his eyes. With him was a woman Marcus didn't recognize, dressed in a sharp blazer, her expression serious but kind. Mr. Thompson, thank you for coming, Mr. Reynolds said, gesturing to the woman. This is Ms. Angela Carter, our regional director. We wanted to speak with you personally. Angela extended her hand and Marcus shook it, sensing this wasn't just another apology. Marcus, I've followed your story closely, she said. What happened here was unacceptable, and it's exposed flaws in our training and culture. We want to make this right, not just for you, but for everyone who comes through our doors. Marcus raised an eyebrow, intrigued but guarded. I appreciate that, but apologies don't fix systems. What are you proposing? Angela nodded, as if she'd expected his skepticism. We're launching a nationwide initiative to retrain our staff on bias and inclusion, starting with this hotel. We'd like your input to shape it, your expertise, your perspective. We're also creating a scholarship fund for underrepresented students in tech, and we'd be honored to name it after you. Marcus leaned back, processing her words. It was a big gesture, but he'd heard promises before. Why me? He asked. You could hire consultants, experts. Why involve me directly? Because you lived it, Angela said simply. Your story has power, and we want to learn from it, not just sweep it under the rug. Oxy, Mr. Reynolds chimed in, his voice quieter. I also want to tell you something off the record. Claire, she's devastated. She knows she messed up. She's young and she's learning, but she's not a bad person. I hope you can believe that. Marcus thought of his own tweet, asking people to stop targeting Claire. He nodded slowly. I don't want her life ruined. I want change, not revenge. The meeting ended with a handshake and a commitment to follow up. As Marcus left the lounge, he felt lighter, like a burden had lifted. It wasn't perfect, but it was a start, a real one. That evening, the summit closed with a gala in the hotel's grand ballroom. Marcus hadn't planned to attend, but Linda insisted, saying the team wanted to honor him properly. He arrived in a fresh suit, his nerves tempered by a quiet resolve. The room was packed, with tables draped in gold and blue, the air alive with music and laughter. Halfway through the night, Linda took the stage, holding a microphone. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a special moment tonight, she said, her voice warm. This summit has been about innovation, but it's also been about courage. One man has shown us what that looks like. Marcus Thompson, please join me. The crowd cheered as Marcus stood, his heart pounding. He walked to the stage where Linda presented him with a crystal award engraved with his name and the words Visionary of the Year. But it was her next words that caught him off guard. Marcus, we've heard from so many people inspired by you this week, she said, and tonight we have a surprise. She gestured to the side of the stage, and out walked a group of young people, students from a local STEM program, all holding handwritten signs that read, Thank you, Marcus, and You're our hero. One of them, a girl no older than 15, stepped forward with a letter. Mr. Thompson, she said, her voice shaking with emotion, we saw what happened, and we want you to know you're why we keep going. This is from all of us. Marcus took the letter, his eyes misting. He knelt to hug the girl, then stood to address the crowd, his voice thick. I don't have words for this, he said. All I can say is thank you for seeing me, for standing with me. Let's keep building a world where everyone gets a seat at the table. The room exploded in applause, and for the first time in days, Marcus felt whole. The hurt hadn't vanished, but it was overshadowed by something stronger: gratitude, connection, hope. In the weeks that followed, Marcus's story continued to ripple. The hotel's initiative launched, with Marcus consulting on its framework. The scholarship fund raised millions, sending dozens of students to college. Marcus returned to his work, mentoring and innovating, but he carried the letter from the students with him, a reminder of why he fought. One day, months later, he received a handwritten note in the mail. It was from Claire. Mr. Thompson, it read, I'm so sorry for what I did. I've been taking classes on bias, and I'm trying to be better. Thank you for giving me a chance to learn. Marcus read it twice, then tucked it away. He didn't reply, but he wished her well, silently in his heart. The world wasn't perfect, and neither was Marcus. But he'd learned that change didn't come from perfection. It came from showing up, from forgiving, from building. And as he stood in front of his next class of mentees, sharing his story, he saw their eyes light up with possibility. That, he knew, was the real victory. The end.